with that being said, we are going to move forward. We have Elysium playing, the one and only Zeno coming in with his new squad. I see Swatter, iPick, Pedro, and Grenard down there. So that's scary. I wouldn't like to play against them. But Catalyst does with Drago, Manu, MX, Paleloop, Shen, and Sidru. They are going to take it in a very nice best of 3 for us here. Prion, have you seen Catalyst yet, or are they a new, unfamiliar team for you as well?
This is an unfamiliar team for me as well. I haven't seen them yet.
That's exciting. Then we are on the same line. I have looked into their roster a little bit, into the names. Quite familiar. They are not the first time in DBD Comp, but this chemistry that they formed, this roster, is definitely something new. Ladies and gentlemen, we are keeping the campfire chat very short. Prion and me are just going to yap a bit during the break here, but we are going to hop into Catalyst against Elysium as quick as we can. Though, talking about the killers real quick, we have Dracula, the Dark Lord, in set number 1. Obviously, we are not going to talk about the maps, as they are pick spans and then picked by the individual teams. We'll explain that in a second again, in case you're new to All Hallows League and just joined. But we have Dracula, Trickster, Wraith. Prion, I believe a few weeks ago, it was impossible to imagine that DBDL would ever have a Dracula or a Trickster on stage. Now All Hallows League is special and hypes is all. Now we have Dark Lord and Trickster in one best of 3. How do you feel about that?
I'm really excited for this personally. The Dracula pick, I mean, it's just so new to the game, but the killer in general has been extremely popular among killer players. And then so it's something that I think a lot of people at home are going to be wanting to see as well, like people who have just been playing Dracula a lot and they want to see what one of the best ones in the world can do. And then also the Trickster. I mean, the Trickster has a lot of haters, especially in the comp community. Not very many people enjoy being chased by him, but I really respect the bravery that it takes to actually select the Trickster in a, actual tournament match. So I can't wait to see what's going to happen in that game. It's a killer that not a lot of teams have good experience with, and it's also a killer that could very easily end up with 4 people on the floor. So I'm really excited for both of these sets. I'm surprised and happy that these 2 killers were picked.
Absolutely as well. Trickster is someone I think I've barely ever seen in Comp DBD, not even in other tournaments that are being hosted, not too often in the show matches that are sometimes appearing here and there. So, and obviously Dracula, just a few. Like usually as DBDL, we are always very careful with the new killers and mechanics before we take the hands on it, before we form some sort of balance for these killers. So it's insane that this is happening so quickly. But this is the All Hallows League. And I do think, and I will throw our producer into a difficult scenario here because they need to be very spontaneous now. Let's see if that works. We can celebrate the All Hallows League because we cooked a song for this event. And while they are getting ready, we can also get ready with this song. Let's blast our ears. Let's celebrate the spooky season a little bit. We will have this for the break, and then Prion and me will be right back.
Welcome everybody to the Wrecker's Yard here, and we have one of, if not the best killer players in the world, Zeno, on the Dark Lord here for the first ever Dracula game in DBDLeague. This is going to be a really exciting affair here, as he's already missed a Hellfire shot onto a survivor, but he's very quickly shape-shifting here now into the wolf form as he finds a survivor at the TL wall, going to miss that pounce as well. Switches back to the vampire form, goes for a Hellfire, and it is going to land. Nice shot by Zeno, sorry. They have similar sounding names. And that's actually a blood favor in play there, Dyer. Very interesting build here coming out from Zeno.
Oh, that's the Zeno and Zaka mix-up. Prion, you will be roasted later. But that's going to be the first down immediately almost into the game. Xeno showing that he has been well prepared on the Dracula right here. Xydro is going onto the hook, leaving 3 healthy survivors though. So if the next chase is going to be relatively long, there's a good chance for the survivor team to make a very nice comeback. Xeno going straight back towards the hook, expecting the unhook coming through. That's now going to be Manu in the next chase. Xeno not opting to go for the tunnel out, as maybe he doesn't need it, or he would like to get as many individual hook stages as possible during the trial here. That's going to be the wolf form now coming out, checking over onto the generator. 2 survivors over here. He picks the one that is further outsourced into the corner of the map, and that was a nice attempt there with the second dash, but Xydro dropping the pallet in time. Fire is not going to work out as well, so the tunnel out now being in chase again, but with a pretty good chase here so far, even winning this mind game.
Yeah, and Xeno here is having a little bit of trouble getting this down, as it seems like he's going for Hellfires when he could be going for M1s instead. And now this ace here, is he going to be able to dodge the pounce? No, he is not. So Xeno is going to put the second down onto Xydro here, and it is not going to be a decisive strike there. Maybe it ran out, or maybe he deliberately saved it for the next hook. So second hook there onto Xydro, and Xeno here, I want to take a second to talk about the builds, Dyer. In the last game between Kichaze and Yunoya, we saw pretty standard builds, mostly with the inclusion of some previously banned perks like Deadlock, but I think Xeno here is really going for broke with this build. I mean, Grim Embrace with Blood Favor Undying. I think Xeno really knows what he would hate to play against in a public match and is just equipping that.
Yeah, Xeno has cooked something for himself here, considering the perks, and he's ready to make the biggest use out of it. Welcome to the spectator bucks of behavior. It's also extending to the Dracula. You might be able to purchase the skin very soon for $14.99 in the Steam store. Let's think about that. Xeno back into the wolf form, everything blocked across the entire map. So Xeno in a very, very good position here. He has his hook stage. Grim is helping him out. He's constantly locating these survivors. He still has the hex totems as he's defending them well. If you would make a plan, what can all go right for Xeno? I feel like you have a tick on every single item on that list right now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's chase now going on to this Meg here at the filler pallet. The Hellfire is going to miss, so he's going to switch to the Wolf immediately. Goes for the pounce. Great pathing though from the Meg. She's able to dodge out on that second pounce. Hellfire being charged again, and very nice over the rock from Xeno. Great aim there, is going to be able to down the Mag over the pallet. The Hellfire is not exactly consistent in what obstacles it will and won't go over, but Xeno there demonstrating a good understanding of what is able to be shot over with that Hellfire. So he's going to immediately teleport away from that hook and trigger Grim Embrace. He's now going to maybe be looking for this Nancy here. This is his final stack with Grim Embrace.
And now Draco on the hook. Shen in the next chase. I was about to say they need to watch out that they're not going to have a slug and someone onto the hook, but they are quick and efficient on getting the survivors back into the map here. Though that means that the survivors are currently constantly busy with unhooking each other, and that really, really takes the ability on pressuring these generators. When Xeno originally picked the Dracula, I was surprised that it's already going to happen in week 1, and then I was thinking about it a little bit, and I was like, well, if there is someone who can pick up the most recent released killer and make something great out of it, then it's probably Xeno or Zaka, who you brought in earlier. But one of these two, when we are talking about the ability to adapt, you mentioned it, very inconsistent with the power. Xeno has a good understanding, and so far I have zero doubts in why this was the pick.
Yeah, and it looks like he's going back toward the hook over here. The save is going to come in onto the Nancy, but Xeno would really like to confirm the death onto this ace here that went for the save. He is dead on hook here, so going to be chasing after him in wolf form now. Goes for the first pounce, second pounce not going to land. I think he just needed a little bit more distance there, as now he's going to go for the Hellfire through the window and over the pallet. Not quite going to land though. Back into bat form now as he chases around the backside of Shaq. He has another Hellfire here, and that one is planned. Great play there from Xeno, showing really why he decided to pick the Dark Lord here. So that's going to be the pickup onto Ace, and that's going to be the first death to this Survivor team at 2 generators remaining.
Very nice to see this elimination coming through now for Xeno. Everything going according to plan. You are cutting down the Survivor team to 3 members, which means if one is on the hook and one is going for the rescue, the next one in chase is going to make all survivors being busy and not being able to sit on the generators. And we cannot even talk about a chase here, because Xeno finds them, downs them, hooks them. There's nothing in between. It is just insane what Xeno is showing us right now. This is peak Dracula gameplay.
Yeah, so back to bat form now. He's going to be teleporting to a window and blocking it with that purple add-on he's got there, the Lapis Lazuli. The Renato now in chase at this TL, and he's going to land another Hellfire hit there, and then immediately goes back to the hook in bat form, showing the strength of Dracula. The blood favor is still up dire, as he is not going to land that Hellfire prediction there onto the Meg. Switches back to wolf form and immediately goes for the pounce and hits it through the rock area. Very nice play there from Xeno. It's going to be an injury onto the Meg, and now that's 2 survivors alive, 2 survivors injured, and Xeno just controlling this area with the constant shapeshifting.
It's a rough position right now here for Catalyst, both injured as well. Theoretically, you could consider if you at least bring them back to being healthy right now. On the other hand, it's going to cost you extra time, and you need to judge how realistic it is that you get the final generator out of the way if you are going to take extra time. Shen is not being rescued. He's going into the full elimination. Wolf Xeno is not having mercy with the survivor as well. Quickly into the bats, stopping generator number 5 from coming out, as Mag has now is now opting to go over here, hiding behind the cars, going a little bit into Xeno though, and that's very likely the final chase, since a Hellfire is going to miss, but Xeno should still be able to go into the down with the wolf form. Yeah, that it is. It's going to be a 4K with 1 generator remaining. Perfect win condition for Elysium. You need to get all the generators done to secure yourself the win in the first set. Absolutely fantastically played. Xeno finishing Season 9 with an insane performance and placement, starting All Hallows League with an insane performance. Catalyst will definitely need to show us an absolute miracle on the Dracula to make it a 4K2 against this team.
Yeah, so great showing from Team Elysium in their first set of the All Hallows League. Really refreshing to see a killer that is like brand new to the game, especially played by such a good killer player in Xeno. So yeah, Catalyst has a very tall order in front of them here. They are going to have to get a 4K2 if they want to be the ones to take down Elysium in the first match of the All Hallows League. So we're going to be going to a quick break while we switch the sides. It'll be Catalyst playing the Dark Lord and Elysium on the Survivors. So we'll be right back. I'll see you after this short break.
Hello everyone, it's the spooky season with Pedro, Swatter, Xeno and iPick, and honestly this roster is quite spooky. They are going against FaZe, and that's going to be the first stun into the game. Win condition is quite high. Elysium just needs to get all 5 generators, and we would need to see a 4K on 2 gens remaining in order to stop Elysium from taking the first set point here. Nice injury onto our Adam though, with the Hellfire. Lithe coming out, saving Adam from going into the down here. But FaZe definitely looking forward to get the first down as quick as possible here, putting Swatter under quite some pressure. The Wolf still being chosen, double dash available, though there's patience with the pallet, and we see the pointing, meaning that you can immediately move after being put onto the floor, and that's going to be the pallet save. But The missed pallet save onto Xeno. And that happens in Elysium. Prion, is this the next headline? What am I watching?
Unfortunate
What am I watching?
pallet save too early coming in from Xeno, but I think those pallet saves are so hard to get the timing correct on, because like to get the correct timing on that pallet save, your brain is telling you like, oh, I have to throw the pallet because he's gonna swing out of it, and that's almost always what causes the mistiming on the pallet save. So if the survivor isn't under the pallet like 100% perfectly, then the survivor feels like they need to throw it immediately, and then that ends up with the missed pallet save. So unfortunate there for Xeno, but they are able to double the shack generator out, which is going to be really good for Elysium here. So in exchange for the first down. And I mean, I guess while we're waiting here, I want to talk about the build from this particular Dark Lord. He's got Corrupt Intervention, Lethal Pursuer. Like, he is playing with two perks right now. He's got the ultimate early game combo, but we're no longer in the early game, Dire. We're in the protecting hook stage here, as the survivor with Deliverance, Pedro, is now coming into the hook. Body blocks attempting to come in, but not gonna work there, as, oh wow, actually misses the down onto Pedro, and he's gonna be able to start healing with his medkit now.
Very, very nice play there by Pedro with the pointing tag, and Swatter right after dodging the Hellfire. And I'm totally agreeing with you. Also for the amount of perks that we have to support the early game, we don't really see the outcome for that. So either the strategy was we need to put Elysium under pressure from the get-go, even though it doesn't look like pressure, with 3 gens completed now, in order to have a chance here, or not entirely sure what was the idea there, but we're trying to get the down with a lot of Hellfires here, and they are not going to find its target. Good move by the survivors. They are rotating towards the individual generators, trying to split the pressure even more. And it's just beautiful to see when all the puzzle pieces are falling together, and they are making a very nice move here. Pedro also keeps juicing around the pallet here. FaZe is trying to get the injury, but he has already rotated over towards the fun bus. Absolute fantastic survivor gameplay right here.
Yeah, Elysium is playing so efficiently here, and every chase, they are really mind gaming the Dracula out of his power. I mean, I think there's only been one Hellfire hit at a pallet, and Pedro, just great pathing to get away from the wolf there. The pounce is not going to land, and I mean, Dire, no more generators can be done if Catalyst wants to win this game. And we're in a situation where all survivors are healthy and only one person has been hooked. So probably not going to be the win coming through for Catalyst here, as any moment another generator could pop and secure the win or secure at least the tie condition for Elysium.
Yeah, and even after the tie condition, right? Realistically, we need more injuries and downs. It's only Pedro right now who's potentially being thrown onto the hook. Everyone else can take 2 hits before facing the next hook stage, and Xeno and IPIC can hang 2 minutes and 20, and Pedro 2 minutes and 20 seconds overall. So there's a lot of time on the hands of Elysium, together with the 4th generator that is progressed in the meanwhile. This survivor has now been located. It's Swatter again. This would be the survivor that you can potentially eliminate much earlier than the other survivors, but even with this injury and then taking the distance, it doesn't look like it's going to come out very soon. Next pallet being found for Swatter. Someone has taken over the generator on the opposite side, meaning also that this generator that Swatter just repaired is still on 60% and might lead us to the end game in just a couple of seconds here.
Yeah, and I mean, another dodge comes out onto the Hellfire there. Swatter is just winning all of these chases here for his team. You can tell that he's really experienced against the Dark Lord, and he's going to choose to go down on the pallet here, baiting yet another pallet save. And maybe this one will actually go through, but it seems like Killer is suspicious that survivors are lurking nearby, and he would be correct, because Xeno on the Steve has been following him around with the beamer for the last 5 or so minutes. So Chase now going to be going on to the fun bus. Now he really wants to pick up this Atom, but not not really a great idea, as 2 survivors are now hovering for the save. The win condition has already been met for Elysium, so there's no reason why they shouldn't just send everybody to try to get Swatter off the ground, especially after the chases he had. I think he deserves it, Dire.
Absolutely, yeah. Swatter needs to be out here after the chases, otherwise we'll leave some anti-teammate behavior here towards the end. So I pick Zeno and Pedro better, making sure that we are going to have Swatter out of this game. And it would be such a nice start as well, right? If we would have 4 survivors coming out of this trial here. Elysium, after the grand final of season 9, yeah, they lost it, but they showed us such peak gameplay there. And if they now smash it here, entering all the Hallows League with a 4-man escape, setting up for a second pallet save as well. Let's remember what Prion explained earlier. The survivor should be 100% in the middle of the pallet, so there's no reason to panic. On the other hand, I also feel like that FaZe deserves some additional downs and stages here. He could even 4K if you're asking me, because he definitely faced one hell of a survivor team, and he did realistically not really a big mistake. Very often when we are talking about the weaker killers, and Dracula is definitely not the strongest in the roster, it is not so much about the mistakes that you make or how great you are playing. Very often it needs the survivor team to make some mistakes as well, and when you're facing Elysium, there are not many mistakes that you can capitalize off. So it might look hard here with one hook stage, but I honestly think that our FaZe on the Dracula didn't do too bad.
Yeah, like you said, playing against the survivor team of Elysium is extremely difficult, even for the best killers among us, the killers that are on very high level teams in DBDLeague, and it looks like they are going to be opening the doors now. I'm not sure if they're going to be taking their escapes or dive bombing the hook to try to get Zeno. They still do have Pedro with Deliverance, so that could be something that Elysium is playing for here, as chase now at this filler tile, not going to land the Hellfire onto Swatter once again. Swatter has dodged so many of these M2 Hellfire attacks this match, and second stage now approaching on Zeno. Survivors are running in to try to get the body block, and it looks like, yeah, Pedro going to be hit by the Hellfire, but there is another healthy survivor here that is going to be able to body block. He goes into the bat form to try to get ahead of the survivor, and he is going to be able to do it. Nice play there from FaZe. He's going to down iPick, who is fresh. Another Hellfire misses onto Swatter. He just dodges every single one of those. And Swatter now actually runs back into the killer, and he is going to be knocked out of the gate. So pickup comes in onto iPick. 2 survivors alive, injured in the map right now. And I'm not sure if Elysium, it looks like they're going to be healing to try to save this Dire.
I mean, this is the perfect setting to do it, right? Like, you can practice these end game plays that are required, or you can imagine that it is required, but you can practice this the best way in a tournament, because the killer will try to do everything. In a scrim, most of the time it's going to end in disconnects because the game is decided. In your own practice sessions, you're playing against someone that you might already know, so doing this in a tournament setting is the one thing for the practice of your own team. The second thing is, and this the card I always hold up, it does make a difference how the trial ended. And if Elysium is going to be able to make a 4-man escape here, this is a confidence boost that they are taking into the second set, and they will play even more flawless when they could just celebrate about 4-man escaping this trial. So that's why I totally understand why Elysium is doing it. The big question though is, will they be able to do so? This is something that they would like to achieve, obviously, but not entirely sure if they are going for it, because FaZe is quite good in denying it so far. FaZe is doing a good job in defending it.
Yep, but Elysium finally has the situation that they were going for earlier. The Deliverance survivor is the one on the hook now. So if iPick and Zeno are able to run in here and help Pedro out when he self-unhooks, the 4-man escape is looking more and more likely here, but they're going to have to watch out for the bat form again, see if FaZe can get ahead of the survivor.
Now we are zooming towards the exit gates, trying to go. Oh, they're able to block it. 2 survivors are getting in between the Dark Lord and Pedro here. He's facing the entire support of the team, and they are making it again. Potentially there's one Hellfire coming out into the exit gate, but the answer is no. They are going to make it out of the door last second here with the end game. Wow, what a show by Elysium. 4 survivors walking out of the door here. What a good game for them, and this is something that will carry over into the Trickster set. We are going to see what's going to happen on the Trickster set on a so far unrevealed map. We will see what map was picked for that set when we are facing it. Prion, maybe real quick, taking a little bit longer here in this break than we usually take, I would like to ask you, it's safe to say that Catalyst tried to catch Elysium with the early game because they had 2 perks, the Corrupt Intervention and the Lethal Pursuer, specifically for the early game. That didn't work at all. How are you now playing the next trial? Since Elysium counted that, are you trying to play normal instead, like just trying to get the hook stages across the board? Or do you maybe try to focus the end game, even though the perks have been locked in?
If I were playing a Trickster set against Elysium, I mean, I'm sure not a lot of people would be able to answer that question because not very many people play the Trickster. But I actually play him quite a bit, and I've even played him in comp before. I mean, nothing as important as DBDLeague, but if I were playing a Trickster set against a really good team like Team Elysium, what you got to do here is you need to play for the survivors to make a mistake, because Trickster, the mistakes that you can make against Trickster are much smaller than other killers. He's extremely good at capitalizing on mispositioned survivors. And whereas if you misposition against any other normal killer, you might get hit, you might go down. If the survivors of Elysium misposition against Trickster or mess up and unhook, there could be 4 people on the ground very quickly. So I think that's what the killer player from Catalyst needs to build around for his next match.
And guys, this is why I love Prion on the desk and why we all love Prion on the desk, because you can ask this guy anything. He always has the most detailed, analytical, statistically based response that you can imagine. That was a perfect explanation. I don't know how to outro now, so see you after the break.
Welcome everybody to the Raccoon City Police Department, not a map that we often see in the competitive scene, and we have FaZe now on the Trickster, which is his pick. First chase going to be on Xeno in these upper hallways here. And Dyer, we were talking about the build last game. It's the exact same build once again for this Trickster.
Yeah, I'm so excited what we are seeing here. FaZe coming in with it again. Maybe it works better this time, I would say. As you pointed out though, when we were on the break, if you are going against Elysium, very strong team, you would go with Trickster RPD as well. There's a good chance to capitalize. If there's a mistake, you have good line of sight with the hallways. The knives can be very punishing there. Xeno already with the injury though, so there is a little bit of hope for FaZe and Team Catalyst that they are going to have a much better game and a much better early game here as well, though the distance has been increased too much. So we are going now on the outside of RPD. Here we are finding iPick, who was working on the generator downstairs earlier, but he has a lot of distance as well, and distance is a very punishing factor for the 4.4 killers, and so far this is more leading into a struggling killer than a confident one.
Yeah, and I mean, for the Trickster to really show his strength here, you actually need to have a hook, and the survivors of Elysium are playing their distance so well here. Whatever chase he's starting, it's either going to be in a good area for the survivors, or it's going to be with insane distance on that outside courtyard part of the map. And so now He's trying to get Chase here onto Xeno, the injured survivor, but look at how early Xeno drops that pallet. I mean, there's just no option for the Trickster to do anything about that. He's... Oh, Xeno is going to be stuck at a low-walled loop here. And he dodged the knives. I think he's going to opt to die on the pallet instead. I don't think Xeno knew just how few knives FaZe had left there. Main event now coming in. It's going to get the injury onto Pedro. A little bit of a snowball coming in here, but Pedro still staying around for the pallet save. FaZe really needs to reload, though. Pickup going to be coming in on the correct side of the pallet, though. So that is going to be a actual hook coming in onto Xeno for FaZe. I hope this is a pain resonance for his sake, but it is not. 0 knives here for FaZe. He needs to do something here to get his pain resonances up, get a little bit of snowball coming, and they're gonna just farm Xeno here. He doesn't even have the decisive strike dire. That is just how confident Elysium is here.
Absolutely, huh? They don't need a decisive.
I think what happened here is that Elysium probably knew that FaZe needed to reload, and he's still got 0 blades here. So you're not going to be able to take Chase onto Xeno at that dropped pallet on the west wing without reloading. So he's going to have to leave Xeno and is now chasing onto iPick on the east side. He's finally going to reload. I mean, something that is very different in the competitive sets versus the public matches with these ranged killers that have to reload. Every reload that you end up doing just feels so much more painful when you know that the survivors are being so efficient.
Absolutely. And now with 4 injured survivors, you would think this is the time where ultimately the killer is taking over, right? And this is where Elysium really needs to watch it. But you don't get this impression right now. They're sitting here. You talked about it earlier. The Trickster has the confidence or the advantage when he's able to take advantage of out-positioned survivors, which is so beautifully how Xeno was waiting behind the pallet on the corner, getting the best possible view where the Trickster is. Swatter, though, is a little bit unlucky because this library pallet is not really shielding him from any knives coming in. Xeno now being healed, iPick being healed, together with Pedro. So a triple reset at the very good moment. Just when FaZe is busy getting a survivor on the hook, they are resetting the entire remaining survivor team, coming in very strong with 3 individual survivors now spreading across these generators. A reload is needed for FaZe, who's now going outside to catch the survivor that is working on the roof here, but there we also see the awareness of the survivors. Pedro left relatively early, sacrifices this strong pallet, so this is not available later on. Might be a benefit for FaZe when we're coming down here again, but so far Pedro is just abusing this loop, but Xeno once again nearby, and he seems like he wants to be chased right now.
Yeah, and I mean, they're sacrificing these strong pallets almost instantly as soon as they see the Trickster. But the trouble with that for FaZe is that there are about 10 to 15 of those very strong pallets on this map. As we see Xeno now chasing in the lower side of the east wing, and there is another one, another very strong pallet. He's actually gonna bait this one here. Oh no! 1 hit away from getting the injury, and he gets the stun. That is devastating for FaZe. I can't believe Xeno was able to pull that off. I mean, that's the kind of play that we expect from a survivor like Xeno.
Yeah, this was crazy good for him. Crazy sad for FaZe. Xeno here with the vault. Killer didn't see him because of the generator that is standing there. This little electricity tool. Now, though, it's the quick down onto Xeno, the main event. That's going to be the second hook stage for Xeno. So potentially the survivor that you can eliminate from the Raccoon City police station. And then you might have the pressure over Elysium that you are looking for and that you are trying to get.
That hook that Xeno was just placed on there is nearly impossible to save from if FaZe is nearby. Now, he's not currently there right now. He's taking chase onto Pedro in the upper part of the map. Blades coming out. That's 4 hits, 5. Going for the laceration now. Pedro is hit over the loop, so nice aim there from FaZe. Pedro is going to activate his balanced landing here. Actually loses some of the speed boost to take that vault there, but good pathing from Pedro. Is going to make it far enough away from Xeno's hook that that was actually a main event used there by FaZe and had to cancel it because Pedro's pathing just got him so far away. Zeno now saved from the hook, and I gotta wonder if this is really the right play going for Pedro when he could have camped Zeno in that tiny room.
Now Pedro here in this relatively long loop where the Trickster can throw some good knives, so it's understandable that Pedro is taking this extra turn to the pallet and then chaining it back into the main room. We'll be able to reach the pallet in time again, and FaZe will now prioritize the reload over the chase. Understandable decision though if you do that too often, and if you're too often in this position where you have to let a survivor go because you realize that it's not realistic that a down is coming in soon, you are not really progressing your hook stages, and that is going to be ultimately very punishing for you on the killer. Maybe this is the right chase to go for. We see blood pools on the ground, so that should be Pedro who's injured. He also has a lot of distance. 4.4 killer suffering whenever the survivors have distance, and the end game coming in. 3 stages so far. And that's going to be Pedro in chase, and that would be the right target here. And Zeno shielding is also the right decision. Now it's the question, 1 additional stage on Zeno or 3 on Pedro?
And this is a really dangerous situation to be in against Trickster. I mean, it's okay for Zeno to be body blocking here, but okay, so Zeno definitely makes the correct play there. You want to body block, but you really don't want to be close to Pedro because of the potential of the main event coming in, and here it comes.
And it's going to be so punishing for Pedro, who somehow manages to survive on one of the worst pallets in the entire game. Beautiful play right there, and they keep protecting him. Pedro, though, is going down, and Swatter is also going to keep a couple of knives onto him, so he needs to watch out that he's not getting injured very soon. Pedro, obviously prioritized by the killer, as this is a fresh hook. 3 additional stages in case this survivor is dying. Zeno on the floor as well. Is this maybe now the penalty for being too confident in the end game? They were confident last end game and it worked. Not so sure if it works again.
Yeah, and this is what I was talking about before. He's only got 13 knives. He needs to reload. But, okay, so the survivors of Elysium, they're not so on top of things that they're going to run in while he's reloading. But I've seen that happen before. I think Elysium is going to try to continue to play for this save, and I would disagree with that decision if they actually do it. I think Elysium needs to take their outs right now, and... Okay, so Trickster's actually committing away from the hook, over towards Swatter, but now he's going back to the hook. He really should just stay here on Pedro. This hook is placed in a corner of a hallway, which has small doorways to get into it, and this is just a incredibly dangerous place to be against Trickster. Elysium, if you can hear me, please leave.
Yeah, I think this is the same as well here. The decision is going to be impacting a lot, potentially forcing the tiebreaker if they're now taking too many stages. Zeno keeps going for it though. Does really want to see Pedro escaping this trial, sacrifices himself. Balanced landing coming in clutch, a little bit of extra speed, and they actually, it seems like, yeah, Pedro moving down, and the animation is actually going to lock the survivor in, and Pedro is staying in this trial. Photo finish on Elysium and Catalyst didn't work out. Oh, this is so intense what we are seeing here. Zeno definitely coming in with the hero strategy and making sure that everyone who has additional stages is supposed to walk out of the door. Now it ultimately doesn't matter. Pedro is going to die on the hook, but I would say this time Elysium jumped last second from something very dangerous.
Yeah, that was almost disaster for Elysium there. So yeah, I mean, that's going to be Pedro finally dying on the hook. I believe 1 kill with 6 stages secured for FaZe for Team Catalyst. Probably not the result that he was looking for on his own killer pick, but if you consider how Elysium was playing there, I mean, just dropping every god palette before the Trickster could even be in chase with you, I mean, he really did his best.
Absolutely, yeah. He was trying, just like in the previous trial, he got more stages for his team ultimately. So this is something we can definitely work with. Welcome back, everyone, to what's potentially the last trial between Catalyst and Elysium. We are having the Trickster on the RPD East Wing. And the win condition is going to be relatively difficult for the survivors, because all we need on the side of Elysium are 6 stages on 4 survivors, alternatively 7 stages on 3 survivors. And with Xeno being on the killer side, it is likely that we are going to see quite some hook stages. How you counter that? Well, for the survivor team, it's always important to have a strong early game, getting a good chunk of pressure into the generators, having some long runs, and then putting some pressure onto Xeno that well. And so far they're doing good in that regard. They have a lot of distance, they are running Xeno around the RPD, so it doesn't look like the worst start for them.
Yeah, and Xeno is already being taken on the same tour that he was taking FaZe on last game, with the pre-drop of the strong pallet before the Trickster is even in line of sight. He's going to be feeling the pain of having to chase around these small hallways here until he can get his first injury. And yeah, he's just choosing to leave these chases, and I don't blame him at all. He probably wants to take a chase over on the west wing of the RPD, as there we go again, another pallet is pre-dropped before Xeno can even start chase. So this is how these competitive survivors are choosing to counter the Trickster. They don't even want to interact with those knives at all. They're just choosing to just keep distance and make sure that the Trickster can't even start the chase music with them.
And I really like how they are playing this right now, because they are under pressure here. It's trial number 4, so potentially Elysium could win 2-0 in this best of 3 here. And while needing a very strong performance, they are choosing to be so coordinated with situational awareness. Where's the Trickster? Where's he approaching from? Dropping the pallets early, as you say. And we don't see any completed generators yet, which is understandable since they are taking it so careful, but we hear some good percentages here and there. We have 2 pistons pumping already on this generator, and the same goes for some other objectives across the map. So if they keep this up, if they play this careful while slowly progressing the generators, I feel like they have found a very good and realistic approach for themselves on how to deal with Xeno here.
Yeah, and so the main event is finally going to be charged here, but can Xeno get any amount of distance here onto this Nancy? It's going to be shooting over the desk with the main event, but he's going to have to cancel it as the Nancy breaks line of sight. Now she's going over to this armory pallet, going to hold W away from that and go upstairs to the library, I think. Nope. Going to continue using this main area loop as first injury finally coming in for Xeno, as one gen is going to pop in the distance, and now he has to reload. Dire, the survivors of Catalyst are playing this very well so far.
Catalyst is basically giving us a tutorial on how to play against the Trickster on RPD. Good communication, good awareness of the surroundings, and ultimately, as you mentioned, this distance, breaking line of sight, making the killer run, which ultimately costs time, especially as the 4.4 killer. Main event ready once more. Our survivor, though, choosing to not keep it on the staircase, as it would be too dangerous, but this now ultimately a potential mistake. Luckily the pallet there to save the day, but now Catalyst needs to be careful. Good and careful approach so far into the game, but they need to be aware where Xeno is at any given moment, and Manu almost went down there. 3 generators as a punishment against Xeno for having so much time waste against him, basically. Manu, though, ultimately now taking the knives, and they are doubling up in the distance, potentially getting generator number 4 out of the way, and another one is 75. Prion, do we potentially see the miracle comeback of Catalyst here?
It really depends, Dire, on how these next chases go and how Catalyst can handle a potential unhook here. Xeno probably knows that he can't afford to camp here. And I was going to say something earlier about his build. He's running the exact same build that he ran on Dracula. And I was thinking to myself, you have a comp player in DBDLeague, and you take away all of the perk restrictions, what build would they run? I think this build that Xeno is running here would be exactly what they run on every single killer in every single game. Blood Favor Undying with Grim Embrace. But here, it's actually kind of hurting Xeno because he's not getting enough injuries to make any use of Blood Favor.
Yeah, that's a good point of view on it. So Catalyst, not only with the distance going for the nice counterplay, it even goes so far that it punishes Xeno for the selected perks that he was going with. That's very, very strong by the Survivor team here. MX is lurking for the save. They want to get Manu off the hook. I'm not even sure if they would need to do that. They could double up the generator in the distance, giving up on this, and then making sure that they are getting into the end game. Would be 3 stages on Manu, and even if Xeno finds another one, then we are talking about the 6 stages on 2 survivors. So they could have potentially just teamed up on the generator there. But Catalyst is so far impressing us with their strategy, so let's see if they have something prepared moving towards the end game here. Ada now potentially dealing with the main event. Xeno not with the biggest distance towards her, but the window coming in, punishing. Injury not just yet. There's the injury now, trying to hit Ada with more knives. She's around the corner. No, she has enough distance, and it really feels like Catalyst has practiced every single edge of this map.
Xeno is out of knives, Dyer. He doesn't have knives, and that means that our MX is going to make this pallet here. Bolts back, and he's going to go straight to the corner. I mean, Catalyst has been playing so clean here, and the door is already open. Yeah, I can't believe what we've just seen here, Dyer. Big upset from Catalyst. You're absolutely correct. This is probably the set that Catalyst has practiced probably more than any other. And it's really showing here that they just had that much more experience in the Trickster set as compared to Elysium. So I'm not sure how many people are actually going to be making channel points off of this result in the Trickster set, but some people are going to be very, very rich off of this upset from Catalyst. We are going to be going into the 3rd tiebreaker set here that I don't think anybody would have expected. Xeno not able to bring it home on the Trickster. Very clean play from the survivors of Catalyst. So we're going to be going to a short break while we set up the tiebreaker, so we'll be right back. Comp set that Xeno is likely more experienced in.
Yeah, Wraith and Xeno is something that really goes hand in hand here. The Jake is though going to be a very first target of Xeno, not going to have any time going into the temple here. Xeno used the break to get very much ready and prepared for this. That's now going to be the vault into the shack here. No bamboozle, so that's going to be the turnaround. That should be the down here. Undying already gone. Xeno protecting his ruin with an additional perk right there, but very, very nice start for Xeno here. Great work by him.
And once again, Xeno, he gets the first hit by body blocking the pallet, and that activates the Blood Favor. And I'm going to keep saying this, and I'm going to sound like a broken record. And when this is allowed, Blood Favor is allowed, you are hurting yourself if you're not using it. It's just way too strong. Even if the survivors cleanse it fast, it only has to activate once to be of use. And Xeno is he's just been abusing it all game, or all match here. He's used the exact same build on every killer for good reason.
And yeah, he's getting confident with this perk build, right? And he has decided that with all the restrictions that have been lifted from the Survivor team from Season 9 into the AHL, there's something that is consistent, as you described earlier. And this really, really works out for him. We have seen him being successful with this perk build multiple times today. He's also finding the Jake again, the one who he can potentially tunnel out here in this trial. The Lithe doing a little bit of distance here, but Wraith very fast when being cloaked, so that's just going to be the next down onto the Jake. We have one survivor right here. The pallet save isn't possible with the Blood Favor. Another nice addition, this safety that the perk then grants. So quick second hook onto the Jake. Ruin is gone, but we are close to the elimination. great what we're seeing here. This is how you want to play Wraith, especially on a big map.
Yeah, and that was the Undying that just went away for Xeno. He's still got Ruin and Blood Favor up. And then another one, I think another totem just left us, and that might have been the Blood Favor going away. So Xeno now, he's got this window gem here, and yeah, Blood Favor is gone. All of the totems now cleansed. But Dire, we are still at 5 gens, and somebody is almost dead.
Yeah, this is very, very difficult now for Catalyst here. Even though they get slowly rid of these Hex totems, this is not at all looking like the Survivor performance you want to see. 25 seconds away from the elimination. 2 of the Survivors are starting generators. Nancy slowly walking towards the hook, so we do not have something big at the moment. We do not have this huge pressure in opposite or in like to counter this right here. Shen has also just wasted some time, might be worded very, very harsh, but he was trying to lurk for the rescue. That didn't turn out as expected, so Shen was not progressing the generators at the moment, meaning that the elimination came through pretty much for free, as not so much generator progress was happening here. And if Xeno doesn't get stopped with a long mid-game chase, I don't know who can.
Yeah, and this is exactly the type of Wraith play that I expect from Xeno in a match like this. We've already got a death at 5 gens remaining, and he's already in chase with another survivor here. Great mind game, able to get the seemingly free hit onto Shen, but for all of you people at home, it's not actually that easy to do what Xeno is doing here, and that's going to be yet another down. 1 gen is going to pop in the distance, so congratulations, Catalyst, you finished 1 gen. They have another one very close here, but there's an injured survivor working it, and I believe this is where we're going to start to see Xeno's almost patented slugging playstyle from him.
And now, yeah, it reminds you a little bit of Xeno on the Billy, right? Because this was like his #1 strategy when it's about the Billy coming in. He was always trying to slug, trying to keep the pressure up across multiple survivors, and he's just playing. Oh,
did he just lunge across that wall?
It again. He's doing it again, just like on the Dead Dog Saloon in the Season 9 highlights with the Wraith on the Dead Dog Saloon. He's doing it again, and he's getting them. That is so beautiful.
I had no idea that you could lunge over that, but Xeno is teaching everybody at home something new today, and now 2 survivors on the ground, 1 healthy survivor in chase here, and they do not have that good pallet that can spawn over there by the temple entrance. He's going to uncloak here, thinking that Ace might try to go for a pickup, but he's not able to get a pickup with this injury here. Okay, he's actually going to swing all the way around and hit the down survivor again. So great play from Xeno there. He really just wants to keep a stranglehold on this game and secure the 4K4 on the Wraith here. Injury gonna come in onto the Ace. He might be able to pick up Manu here if he can get there in time, but I mean, it's really all but over here for Xeno. Oh, but that was made for this.
Yeah, that's going to be a little bit of a delay here in the slug party. Xeno has to wait a little bit until he can celebrate the 4K. Survivor instantly jumping back on the generator, which is very understandable since the 2nd gen coming out is the only realistic improvement in the win conditions that they can look for. Here, Xydro is getting up Shen again. Instantly, Xeno ready to come over. There are no pallets right here, so this survivor is going to go on the floor as well, and these survivors are now just rotating from one place of the temple to the other, healing, trying to save each other. There are no resets happening. There is no time for any generators, and that's just going to be now the hop into the locker. So the survivor team is fighting, which I admire so much, but I think they have to face it.
Yeah, and little things like going into the locker and using Made for This on a pickup are extending Catalyst's life just a little bit longer, but Xeno, nobody's doing gens is the problem here for Catalyst. They might be surviving another minute, but at the end of the day, Xeno here just he's constantly in control, as I was about to say, great pathing on the 4 lane from Shen, and then Xeno just wins with his own mind game of the mind game there on that pallet.
Now they are with 2 again. Ace is going to be caught very early. That's going to be the down right here. And this time he should be able to cut the survivors off. Prion, if you look at this, you just need 2 gens on the side of Elysium, very likely in the next trial. And to win this would be a 4k5. How do you deal with that?
Well, I believe we've actually seen a win condition like this before with the Wraith, and I think it was in the Winter Circuit, if I remember correctly, with Wraith being played on the Temple of Purgation there, and we saw a lot of 4k3s and 4k4s there. You really have to have an incredible Wraith player that is amazing at the hit and run tactics, not just that, but also at confusing the survivors with their comms to each other. Like, for example, you saw that Xeno, he hit somebody over by the gen that was being worked on the bottom side of the map, and then the Renato instantly hops back on the gen after he cloaks. Xeno just goes right back and hits the Renato again. So that's kind of something that shows you that there's miscommunication from the survivors. And the Wraith player has to be very good at causing those miscommunications by cloaking and making the survivors confused as to where he's actually going when he's.
Now we are back. The duo of Catalyst still standing here. Xeno not getting this one. Manu is about to bleed out. You might ask yourself, what is happening if the survivor is bleeding out? Well, it just counts as the survivor being sacrificed, so all the hook stages and the individual hook stage are going towards Xeno. The killers are not going to take any disadvantage from that. And I'm not sure if Manu is being picked up in time here. That looks like it's going to be 2 survivors standing, which ultimately would make this triangle of healing each other and keeping each other on the feet is going to be much more difficult. Yeah, there it is. It's now going to be Manu. And remember the new rule we added to AHL. Theoretically, Xeno could now just eliminate Shen, and if Zydru would escape with the hatch or exit gate, it would not matter anymore. Escapes that are happening when generators are still standing are disregarded in all Hallows League, eliminating the final piece of RNG in the end game, for example, with the exit gate. So to make your escape count as a survivor team, you need to make sure that all gens have been repaired. And we have to say that Catalyst was unfortunately very far away from that.
Yep, so a 4k4 result for Xeno on the Wraith is definitely not what you want as a survivor result, especially in a tiebreaker here. You're basically giving your killer a impossible win condition. So going into the next round, I think Catalyst just needs to kind of accept what's happening here, and maybe start, I don't know, the 5 stages of grief dire. I don't know what I would do if I had to get a 4k5.
Yeah, 4k5 is the one thing, right? 4k5 on Wraith, and then 4k5 on Wraith against Elysium on Temple. This is where you can really get the difficult mood or the difficult mindset to reach the win ultimately. But yeah, Shen now bleeding out. Zydru on the hook. That seals the deal here. There's nothing crazy happening for Catalyst. 4k5 being needed, and considering we are a lot behind the schedule due to some balance offenses and tiebreakers today, we are hopping straight onto the break, and we'll show you the deciding game right after this. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have to start with the housekeeping again. Unfortunately, this time there is no mistake possible. Our Xydro from Catalyst did not pick Temple of Purgation. We loaded into the wrong map behind the scenes, meaning that 4k4 is no longer a tie. It's now going to be the win for Elysium. Only a 4k5 can be the win for Catalyst. So Elysium onto a very easy mission, I would say, Prion. 1 gen for the win here.
Yep, one generator needs to be completed for Elysium, as we already see Swatter putting his body in the line of fire to cleanse the blood favorite totem. And for all of you comp enthusiasts out there, especially fans of the Wraith, you might be noticing something very strange about Zydru's build. This guy doesn't have Swift Hunt, Dire.
And now, oh, we're going for the next injury already here, trying to get Elysium down as quick as possible, trying to prevent them from the first generator being progressed. But this is just the difficult thing, right? Preventing them from one generator being completed here. Swatter now going down, but the other three have the chance to work on the gens, and they might also be able to go for the pallet save. Not going to be successful, unfortunately, but Granout prioritized the gens, got it out, and that means Elysium is taking the win tonight.
Yep, so one gen there done for Elysium, and like Dire said, that is going to be the win, 2-1 as I predicted. And so now the rest of the game is just going to be they're playing for pride. Elysium probably wants a 4 out here. Zydru wants to get as many kills as he can. But overall, Dire, I think this whole match just did not go as expected, did it?
Absolutely not. This was, like, if we look overall on the whole best of 3, absolutely not. I think people handled Elysium as a clear 2-0, which is already showing that when you have a nice idea, and on All Hallows League, we talked about it briefly in the campfire chat earlier, since the maps are now picks and bans, you can go for a whole different strategy, and you can make the maps a strategy how to beat your opponent. So this is very, very great.
Yep. Catalyst clearly came in here with a defined plan to upset Elysium, and they were able to execute it to perfection in the Trickster RPD set. But now that Elysium is back on the sets that they are comfortable with, they are just kind of running away with it in this Wraith set now that they've met the win condition. Swatter now continuing to run. He doesn't really have any resources left here, so he is going to go down near the edge map there. Pretty good place to die, but Elysium survivors continue to double a gen across the map, and since Swatter is not a fresh hook, there's not really going to be any big regression coming in for this hook. And you can see survivors already moving across the map to try to position for this unhook. Looks like the first unhook was not gotten by the survivor with Deliverance, and actually now he's going to get found here by the killer. Now
the next pallet break coming in. Swatter on the hook, 40 seconds away from the elimination. Granout, Pedro, Zeno, the healthy survivors over here. That's going to be now Meg leaving the... No, that's not a Meg. That's a Elodie. How it looks so much like a Meg from the hairstyle. Elodie, Zeno going to take the injury here, but overall it looks still perfectly timed when we're looking on the side of Elysium here. Great timing when saving Swatter. Now going to try and save that survivor longer. Ace perfectly taking a hit here at the entrance of the main building. Very beautiful to watch. Elysium definitely shining here.
Yeah, so Swatter now in what is probably his final chase of the day. He's actually gonna go away from Swatter, no longer tunneling, and the blind into the pallet stun. This poor Wraith is getting just beaten down by pallets and flashlights, and he's lost his tunnel out now. Unless he can very quickly find Swatter, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him go from injured to healthy pretty quickly.
Now, rotation back potentially towards this generator that is being progressed. And we are going to see that the Wraith doesn't really care about the generator. Instead, he's running into Pedro right here, and he will be the next survivor in chase, taking the injury, leading the Wraith away, trying to waste time for Elysium here, hopping the pallet now and then progressing. The other 3 survivors after the reset hopping back onto the generators here, trying to get into the end game as quick as possible, leaving with the perfect timing though, making sure that there's as much distance as possible.
Very interesting use there of finesse by Xeno. We've been seeing that perk a lot today, Dyer, and that's the first time we've seen it at all since it was not allowed until the All Hallows League rule set came out. Also, given that it's a very recent addition to the game from the Tomb Raider chapter. So Pedro going to be going down on this loop here. Going to be picked up. That's going to be his first hook. One generator remaining here for Elysium as the survivors spread out across the map to try to get this save and finish the last generator. With only not only four, with 4 whole survivors left alive, should be pretty easy for Elysium to finish this last generator. They're not 3-gens really at all either. The generators are quite split apart, even though the hook is on one of them.
Little bit of party here on the hill. 2 injuries, 3 injuries coming out now. So we are going to see a little bit of pressure being taken onto Elysium. Will it be Xydro for Catalyst taking some nice finishes here, some more hook stages before Elysium is walking out of these doors potentially, or will Elysium just stay in their dynamic and smash through here? Nice block by Adam, but unfortunately then Xydro is able to glitch through as there was a little bit of space. Granite therefore going down, and that's going to be now Pedro, Xeno and Swatter, the 3 healthy survivors responsible to take the pressure onto the generator. 1 gen away from the end game, so we are really close of reaching that. Granite with the fresh hook also perfect for Team Elysium here with 2 minutes and 20 seconds of hang time.
Yep, going to be finding Pedro once again on that generator on the hill. It's a pretty big dead zone that has been cultivated over here by this hill generator, as Pedro is going to take that hit and run back over towards the temple. That's going to be the deliverance from Grenout. We saw that activated earlier when he saved Swatter, and now it seems like these survivors are just continuing to group around this hill area. There are 2 hills here, each of which has a generator, and now that Swatter, the Death Hook survivor, is in chase, we're actually seeing Elysium tripling a gen. Screenshot this, guys. This is very rare to see in competitive DBD. This usually not a very efficient play for Elysium. It's what they need to finish the last generator of the day.
And this means that Elysium is now setting themselves up for a nice end game here. And ladies and gentlemen, after, first of all, congratulating Elysium on their nice performance here, we are going to keep it very quick. We are going into the next best of 3 immediately. The lobby is already there. The spectator will just join in. Everyone presses ready. And then we are going. So this is the plan now. So stay excited for that.
Yeah, so Noed is going to be cleansed there. Pedro put up on the hook, and looks like one last chase with Swatter maybe before Elysium leaves out the gates. He's going to get hit, goes over towards the shack where there is a door. I'm not sure what the progress on that door is. Actually, no progress at all on the door. So Swatter now is going to be probably injured working on that door, and Xydro going, he's a little bit indecisive here, not really sure quite what he wants to do. One door is open, this other one is clearly not, and Swatter is going to get found near this other door. Is going to make the window vault there. Very nice play from Swatter. Misses the swing there from Xydro, and Swatter now, I do believe he's going to go down here unless Elysium is able to come in for body blocks, and that whiff there is based off of not having Swift Hunt. You just get that little bit of less distance out of your uncloak because it's that much slower, and it means that you can't really go for like the uncloak swing that you really want to.
Oh, more party here. I call it the Elysium party now when there's so much going on and they're trying to get everyone out of the trial, but it doesn't seem like we're getting all 4. So actually Xeno made it last second there. So Swatter and Pedro can go for the next one. Well played, everyone. Very nice, Elysium. Congratulations to your 2-1 Catalyst. Big shout out and big respect for pushing it all the way into the tiebreaker, because I think a lot of people did not have you on the radar. So we will remember you for the upcoming weeks here in All Hallows League. Prion, let's take a quick look onto Loyalty and Rapture. They are going to play now, and we are going to keep it very, very quick here behind the scenes.